Welcome back. David Heurtel in for Aaron and Natasha. Well, as advertised, I am joined by the Executive Director of Montréal Centre-Ville, Glenn Castanheira, for our big conversation this afternoon. Glenn, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Thanks for having me.
And
I'm really happy to be back. It's been a long time since I've been in person.
Really? Is it your first time you're back in studio?
Since the pandemic.
Really?
First time.
Because you're on regularly on different shows
there
on
you
CJAD.
Go. But there's nothing like in-person experience.
It really is. You're so right. When I was in politics, I always preferred going in studio, even for the tough interviews, because you have that connection, you have that contact. It's always better when you're in studio and you're face to face. So earlier, my question of the day to our listeners was about Montreal. I think you heard part of that. You know, the calls, the texts about what ails our city, what needs to be fixed in Montreal in 2024. I even saw on social media a few days ago, you actually posted about the garbage, the cleanliness of the city, and even you as a citizen, you were concerned about the overflowing garbage cans, which some listeners alluded to. The city seems to have a cleanliness problem. I remember it was an issue during the 2021 municipal campaign. It still is an issue. A lot of residents talk about that. But for you, I mean, you are now beginning, your fourth year now at the head of Montréal Centre-Ville, which is basically all the merchants coming together. It's a merchants association, but it's a big one.
The largest of its kind in Canada.
Yeah. No, it's a huge group. It says a lot about our city, where it's going, and it's, the businesses are part of the lifeblood of our city. The downtown core is hurting, let's face it, since the pandemic. It's never come back to pre-pandemic levels. So my first question to you, I guess, is from your vantage point, how do you feel about where the city is heading starting this new year?
So short term, I do have some concerns, like many of us and many of our listeners that commented today, and I think many Montrealers in general. In long term, though, perspective, I'm very, very optimistic. Mm-hmm. Montreal and its downtown has gone through many crises. I said this coming in when I accepted this position right in the middle of the pandemic. I came in to my position in January 2021. Lockdown was in effect. It was really a dark time, and people were asking, "What the heck are you doing there?" Because we have a very resilient base here in Montreal. Grass is always greener, but when you compare Montreal and our downtown with other North American cities, we are in the top tier. Other cities look at us as inspiration.
Glenn, I'm sorry to interrupt, but when you say top tier, what criteria are you referring to?
And there are many. So when I say top tier, I say
in
general,
your mind, what does it mean, top tier?
It means in a downtown that you want to live in, that you want to be in, a downtown that's vibrant, not just 9 to 5, but also from 5 till 9 a.m. A place where you feel safe to go around, where it's diversified, and where it is accessible despite all the issues that we have. So in that sense, we are in advance. We are, if you look at the fastest growing downtowns in Canada, downtown Montreal is number one. This year alone, you were talking about housing, 5,000 new residential units delivered in our downtown core. And we're talking about the core. I think it's important for our listeners to understand that, the territory I represent is between Atwater, St. Urbain, Notre Dame, and Sherbrooke Street. That's really the core of downtown. In that perspective, knowing that we're also the largest university city in Canada, and with the main concentration of those universities in our downtown, we are 50% of every tourist that comes to Quebec passes through our downtown. Absolutely. It was nearly 10 million last year alone. So you put all that together, not a lot of downtowns come close to what we are.
Okay, that's the positive. What I'll counter with is there's definitely something. I've been in Montreal all my life, born and raised.
Same.
And you get the sense, and this is in all objectivity, there's a sense. And to be fair, maybe it's just the post-pandemic down. Maybe it's about that, and positive part of it has to do with that. But there seems to be a malaise. There seems to be a morale problem about where Montreal is heading, especially when you look downtown. There's certain areas. I mean, I could pick, take Crescent. Crescent and the Maisonneuve, 3 of the 4 corners are boarded up. There's nothing that's been going on in 3 of those 4 corners for years. And I could talk, there are different areas. There are different areas where you walk seem to be abandoned. We talk about the cleanliness. There are real issues, even in touristy areas where you're seeing, my goodness, there's a lot of people. And yes, they're going to be out on December 31st. And so, yes, garbage cans are going to overflow the next day. And it's a mess. And so not even on big days. But there's an overall, I don't know, there's something, there are clouds over Montreal would be the imagery way of saying it. Do you feel what I'm feeling?
I do, because I often get accused of being too optimistic.
Yeah, your job is to be the cheerleader. I get it. No, I get it.
And it is, which is why when I do complain publicly, which I rarely do, I think there's enough people out there to criticize.
Yeah, that's my job.
There you go. that I can focus on the positive. And mind you, there's a lot to be positive about, but it doesn't mean that these issues that you just mentioned are not
like what the merchants are telling you.
Well, a lot of them are really having a hard time, but it doesn't date from yesterday.
No.
I mean, I grew up in a family business. It's how I got involved with BIAs and business associations. And that's the irony. That's where I really wanted to get to. I mean, businesses are telling us they're really having a hard time today, except a few, especially in the luxury sector and high end, they're doing pretty well. And in the accessible proximity, they're doing pretty well too. Anybody in the middle is really suffering. And business is hard, period. That being said, about this kind of gray morale that's happening now, the irony is that, we would probably clip CJAD from 10 years ago. We'd have the same conversation. 20 years ago, same conversation. 30 years ago, same conversation.
Yeah, but I'll push back, Glenn. There are periods. I mean, seriously, there are moments. Yes, I agree with you. But like, for example, Bill Branson, who's going to be on at 5:35, he writes a column this morning in the Gazette. He says, look, we have the Grand Prix, we have the summer, we have the festivals, and yes, we had a great season in 2023. Really, and you were talking about this. I mean, we were scoring. We hit records. But at the same time, it seems like we're stuck. It seems like our wheels are spinning in the mud right now.
And that's where I reach you. And that's why I started off by saying that short term, I'm concerned, and long term, I'm confident. I mean, I guess you can make an analogy here with the markets, right? Is that I think we're in a cycle where it's going to be tough in Canada. It's going to be tough in Quebec. And I think we're going to see it here in Montreal. And I think we do perhaps have what we can consider a perfect storm to say that it is going to be difficult. And there are many elements here. We can discuss the issues of housing. We can discuss the social crisis that's ongoing in downtown. And we can discuss the political scene. And all that put together gives for a very difficult time. And so to that, I do agree. And I share it. It's my job to sell downtown, and I'm very proud of our downtown.
You should be.
And when I travel, and if I can recommend anything to anybody who has the blues of Montreal sometimes, travel anywhere and say you're from Montreal. And have the person in front of you tell you what they think about Montreal. And that really helps a lot. That being said, and I walked from home here. I live in the little Portugal. We're back where my family ironically immigrated over 60 years ago. And, walking down here, I do only focus on the negative. I saw a homeless person clearly under the influence, approaching way too close to a little child that if it was mine, I would have probably reacted quite differently. So things like that. I saw orange cones all over the place, syringes. I saw feces in front of certain businesses. And no, that's not something very
all right. So, understand where I'm coming from. I'm saying, okay, it's from a place of pride. I want our city to work better.
Absolutely.
And that's the conversation I'm having right now with Glenn Castanheira of Montréal Centre-Ville. David Heurtel with you. I'm joined in studio by Glenn Castanheira. He's the executive director of Montréal Centre-Ville, which is the Merchants Association of Downtown Montreal. So, Glenn, we talked generally before the news break. Now let's get into specifics. Okay, so first one. Cleanliness. The city is in a sorry state. It's dirty. We have examples everywhere. You mentioned one too. Have you spoken to the city administration? We've talked about this for years. Have you talked to Valerie Plante? She's the mayor, not only of the city of Montreal, but she's the mayor of the borough of Ville-Marie, which is downtown. So what is going on and what is being done to turn that situation around?
Clean and safe is the basics of any healthy downtown, or actually any healthy commercial district or even city. And I heard one of your listeners before talking about his experience in Old Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
I passed by. You live in Old Montreal.
Yeah.
I passed by recently. I do my runs. And it is quite embarrassing what I saw
Mm-hmm.
there yesterday and today. So yes, we do bring up this issue with the city of Montreal, but I represent the businesses of downtown. If there's something the private sector does, is we don't only ask, we act. And despite we still have a great collaboration with the blue collars, but clearly it's not working. They're not able to do the work that needs to be done. So what we did is we created our own.
Yeah, I know. You have your teams. Yeah,
so we have
your
our own
crews.
team
Yeah.
that doubles up also as social reinsertion. We take men and women
Mm-hmm.
that sometimes had bad luck in their lives, and we give them not just a job, we give them dignity. And these men and women work 7 days a week, and they help us keep downtown as clean as possible, because there is no other solution than to have boots on the ground with a broom and a container for the trash. We've accumulated, and we've only started since I came in compiling this data. We got over 11 million liters of trash that our men and women have picked up.
Well, that says something about where the city is on this. Correct. Because if the private sector has to step in to fill that void, that's a message in itself.
And mind you, we are paying the highest taxes in Canada. Just so you know.
So you're paying taxes
Montreal,
and you're paying to have private crews clean up.
Absolutely.
So that says a lot. The tuition hikes for McGill and Concordia. A lot was said about the economics of it. Forget about the language debate. I'm not asking you to weigh in on that front.
Thank you.
But the economics of it. The fact that when you hurt McGill and Concordia, you're hurting the downtown area. You're hurting the economics of Montreal. What's Montréal's Centre-Ville's position on that?
We are following the situation closely. Concern of the impact that we expect it might have on many of our businesses, amongst them our hotel industry. Mind you, every one of these men and women that are studying at McGill, their families come for to visit them or to their graduation. They shop in our businesses, they work in our businesses, and many of them decide to stay afterwards. I was having, ironically, a meeting with Mr. Finkelstein from Shopify the day before Quebec made its announcement. Mr. Finkelstein, whose father's from Montreal but was living in Miami, chose to move to Montreal after studying in McGill. So we are following the situation closely, but I would say that Quebecers in general, and I often say that people in general underestimate the impact of downtown Montreal on the Quebec economy. Yeah, I think we've all very much underestimated the impact of our universities on not just downtown Montreal, but Montreal as a city and Quebec. It's important to remind ourselves, we are Quebec. We are one province. Are Canada's number one university city. Number one university city. We are the largest university city in North America after Boston. Think about that for a moment.
Boston is huge.
There are over 800 cities in North America.
Yeah.
We are number two
behind Boston.
Think about that.
Yeah. It says a lot. And so anything that hurts the economy. And that's been demonstrated in so many different ways since we started this debate. So, Glenn, moving on, bike paths and parking. Everybody raises this. Every time I open the phone lines to talk about this, and I live it myself as a Montrealer. We have work and construction that's unending. The downtown core, St. Catharines, my goodness, it never ends. I'm not saying necessarily that Phillips Square is not nice. It's nice. It's not an architectural marvel, but it took 3 years to do that. Okay. But here we go again. And there's more. And, of course, the cones and I mean, come on. The merchants of downtown must be going crazy. There's some of them that have gone out of business. We know this. That have gone out of business because of the lack of coordination, because of the sheer volume, because of the lack of parking, because of the construction, because of the bike paths. What say you for 2024?
I unfortunately don't see it getting much better in 2024.
Yet, I'm sorry, yet in 2023, wasn't there a big announcement by Mayor Plante, Geneviève Guilbeault, the transport minister? There's going to be coordination and we're going to get everything done and we're going to take away the cones in 24 hours. You're not seeing it getting even a tad better.
So, and again, I'm Mr. Positive. So there is some positive stuff, and I sit on the committee that's supposed to follow the work. You were referring to le Sommet sur les chantiers.
Yeah.
That was held last year.
You were there.
I was there, and I'm now sitting on the committee that follows the work that is being done by the civil servants. So yes, there is positive. And the positive is that, a lot of work, because, construction is one problem. I often give an example, you're renovating your kitchen. Doesn't mean that you're renovating your kitchen that you need to leave the tools all over your house, including in your bathroom and bedroom, and that you're sleeping with the saw next to you.
Right.
Unfortunately, that's what we're doing here in Montreal. I often give the example of Paris. Paris probably has twice, if not 3 times more construction sites than Montreal, but you barely see them. You notice them if you're driving, mind you. But you don't see them. They're camouflaged. They're blend in.
And you can get around Paris.
By public transportation.
Yeah.
By public transportation, yes. And the good news is that I can tell you that I have been assured that in the first quarter of 2024, measures will be taken to better communicate on construction sites, to uniform the way they are designed and whatnot, which should make it better to cohabitate with. So that's perception, and it goes a long way. So that's very good news. Let's not underestimate the impact it will have. The bad news is, David, is that we're so far behind. We're so far behind in our infrastructure. Coupled with a real estate boom. Mind you, a lot of the construction sites you see downtown are actually private.
Yeah, they're
if
condos,
you go down, they are.
Condo towers.
Fastest demographic growth in Canada, right here downtown Montreal.
Yeah.
A lot of those are private construction. So,
but you can still coordinate with the city and the Ministry of Transport.
And that's where I'm very pessimistic.
And Hydro and Gaz Metro or Energy and whatever.
There's we say in French, je m'en foutisme.
Yeah.
There's a je m'en foutisme culture, the kind of I don't care, I'm only here for a couple of weeks and I'm leaving type.
Right.
That is going to take a long time to change, or that could only change if there's an obsession by public officials to make it something that's better integrated.
On the parking issue, and I know you came on CJAD 800 when it happened, but the fact that the whole parking, the charging for the parking was changed without any consultations. It was one of the big stories, the whole lack of consultation for parking. And for Camille, a lot of consultations, but we're ignoring that. So, but the merchants, I mean, what are they saying? They're put in front of fait accompli. Yeah. They have to live with it. They need parking to do business, right? It's not all cyclists and foot traffic that is generated by pedestrians. So ultimately, what I want to ask you is, what are your key files? What are you pushing for in 2024? What are the merchants asking you to go lobby for at the City of Montreal?
Our key files for 2024 really are the basics, because those elementary basics elements are being threatened, which is clean and safe. For the first time in a very long time, the perception of safety in our downtown is going down. The sentiment of insecurity is going up. That is a big concern to us because we are still North America's safest downtown for our size. We've been rated so time and time again. But perception is reality. If people don't feel safe, they're not safe. So that's something we need to tackle, and that's the main file we're tackling. If we go back to parking and bike paths, the irony is I get as much hate from cyclists who say they can't access downtown properly, believe it or not, as I get from drivers that can't make it downtown. But the fact is, and you're right, not all clients come by bike or public transportation. Fact is, not all of them come by car. What I'm trying to say here is that there will never be enough parking downtown. That said, it's not because there'll never be enough parking downtown that we should behave as if cars were the devil and change a schedule of parking meters the way the city did. That example you just brought up of, for our listeners that don't know, the City Hall has extended parking meters up until 11 p.m., including on weekends and weekdays without consulting. We found out because there were stickers going on. And I want to say that that's an example where the way it was handled was actually more damaging for downtown than the action itself. Because, it will come a time where we'll get rid of most of our on-street parking simply because we need that space. That said, we have over 50,000 off-street parking spots downtown. And what we've been begging the city to do is to render these parkings easily accessible via the Stationnement Montréal app, which the city has not done, which is why, David, that's the example of cleaning. We act, we don't just wait. We are building a partnership with Click and Park. You will be able to find your parking, pay for it, reserve it, choose it from your phone while you make your reservation to a restaurant or a show. We'll take care of that for you with our friends at Click and Park.
All right, we got to leave it at that. Glenn, I got to tell you, as a Montrealer, we need downtown to succeed, not only for Montreal, but for the province of Quebec and for Canada. I mean, downtown is fundamental. And so I wish you the best, you and the merchants you represent. I wish you a prosperous 2024, and I thank you for coming in today.
Thanks for having me, and thank you to all your listeners for visiting downtown.
All right. Glenn Castanheira, Executive Director of Montréal Centre-Ville, the Downtown Business Association.